Oh, this last week was stressful. Now, have you written the right?
No, I need to see if there's no indication of how it's going to work. So, I thought about it.
Just don't push out. So you do it right on their site.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for the Town Council's regular meeting on Wednesday, January 29th, 2020. As we normally do, the meeting is called to order, and we typically do a moment of silence that's followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight I would ask that in our moment of silence, if you could just think about our town and all the people in our town and all the things that we need and all the great things that are going on. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everybody's here except for Mr. Serby, who couldn't make it tonight. He did notify us that he would not be able to make it. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add one addition to the agenda. Last year in our bylaws, we updated section 1-1 to say at the organizational meeting, the town council shall elect the vice mayor. So I'd like to add after resolution 0520, the adoption of bylaws, to do that process so that way we can elect the mayor or vice mayor for this year.
Okay, is there a second?
So moved.
Okay, so there's a motion to, under the bylaws, adoption of the times of the meetings, we would add that we elect, make nomination and elect the vice mayor for year 2020. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lynn?
Aye.
Ms. Roberson?
Aye.
Ms. Schick?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second? Mr.
Aye.
Mr. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Roberson?
Aye.
Ms. Schick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Minutes. Okay, item 7 is council announcements. We'll do something a little different. I'll just go right, or your left to right. I'll go Ms. Roberson.
Gee, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll be right on that spot. I really don't have a lot to report on, but I did want to say how, as long as our work session was, I think it's extremely productive and that we get an awful lot of work done and we talk about a lot of things that need to be talked about. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shea?
I just want to thank the production crew for the application from HGTV, the people that are involved in that, the local community that showed up at the town pier. My son had a cough that day and I really didn't want to expose him to more people and the possibility of that getting worse. So, but the mayor and I were part of that video. Your mayor did an outstanding job. I should let you know. I know it's kind of silly, but really it's a weird, odd thing to try to talk on camera. Not everybody's good at it. So I just want to thank everybody involved with that. And for, pursuing alternative types of funding and going, any route that we can to get the help that we need. I also attended the meeting today with a real estate broker about the property that we have for sale, and that was a good first step, and we have more steps to go, but I just want to let you know there's more progress on that and as things move forward.
Thank you. Frank?
I have nothing to add.
Pat?
I have nothing at this time.
Dallas?
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So, real quick, thank you, Robin. You'll be a host on HGTV soon. I figured from that. I want to say thank you to everybody that participated in the HGTV video and at the town pier, and of course all those who took the time. Eric Nelson and Christy and Joni and
Robert Townsend.
Yeah, Robert Townsend, who did an outstanding job, we think.
That's Margaret that's
So,
editing it.
yeah, and the Max for loaning us a golf cart. It was quiet, it was nice, and that kind of stuff. And also, I want to say thank you very much to those that showed up for Abby's 100th birthday. That was awesome. I don't know if you got to get a chance to see any of that. It was a pretty big spread in the newspaper, I think today or yesterday, on that as well. Very cool. And I guess our basketball team's doing quite well, so if you get a chance, go to a game at some point in time. I think they're ranked 3rd or 4th in the state division 1 right now. So that's a big to-do. We might have another, have to paint something else on the water tower soon, hopefully. With that, that's it. We'll start with presentations. Pat Councilmember I is going to start tonight's presentations with Colonial Beach Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all. So we I've been working very closely with Karen Dresovich. I think she's out there. There she is. And we're trying to develop a Colonial Beach Parks and Rec department here. So first off, it is up on the screen for y'all to see the document that has been prepared by the two of us. And our mission statement is, in partnership with our citizens, Colonial Beach Parks and Rec provides a plethora of comprehensive recreational programs, venues, and services that strive to enrich the quality of life for past and present generations. The goal is we have a lot of this going on in town because we have, in my next group of things, there are groups that run a lot of these, are already doing a lot of the Parks and Rec. We want to bring it together and make it one big organization. And this is some, not limited. I hope I didn't leave anyone out, but I'm sure I did. And we want to bring it together and start to have this group actually give to the community even more than we can, and we can do collaboratively. Next up, that's kind of the groups that we looked at. And I started to begin to talk to some people, and I think Karen has as well. But next up we have we have beaches, we have parks, we have all that, and all that stuff needs to be governed somehow and make it a better process so these things can happen easier and more often and offer more opportunities to the town and its visitors. Then we also have some goals. I'll talk a little bit about each one of those. The goals of a Parks and Rec department are, first, you have recreation and education. You want to provide opportunities for people to have something to do. You want to provide opportunities for people to learn and gather, and community well-being, health and wellness is very important, and this is a department that can begin to put that into effect even more than it already is. Community partnership and volunteers, I've said it 100 times, we survive without volunteers. The mayor just said a lot of people that do a ton of stuff just on their own time. And, you know, we recognize those all the time, but we want to bring it together so it becomes strength. I mean, there's strength in numbers, and by developing this allows us to get together. We want to provide a green infrastructure. We have places that we need to preserve. We have stuff that we want to be able to do with those, and we need to create a plan that allows us to be able to do those things at each of those locations. It also will promote tourism and economic development. It encourages citizens to come out and be a part of this community. Like we said before, we want volunteerism. We want to continue to have that, and we want more and more as it goes on. And the sustainability and quality service, it just sustains that environment that we want for Colonial Beach. The next thing is the divisions and the long-term outlook. Right now, you know, starting up the Parks and Rec Department, we're gonna, hopefully with some discussion here with council, we'd like to move forward and start to develop a committee. And right now it'll be done a lot on volunteers being able to come out and start some meetings with Parks and Rec. We have identified some individuals, some have been spoken to, some haven't. But we definitely want to include a lot of people in this endeavor. And then we would like it to be a long-term thing that continues to grow. We want to have a true, full, what I see, full Parks and Rec department here that has employees that run it and keeps getting bigger every year. It's kind of the big brief. What we're looking for next, like I said, is we have to develop a rec advisory committee of people that begin to do the fine details of things, develops ordinances and stuff at where the Parks and Rec Department can operate. And that's kind of our next step, which then allows us to then be able to put on events with the help of our groups that we have identified. And I would like to say, if Ms. Gresovich would like to add anything that I maybe missed.
Again, this was just the starting point, our pilot kind of thing, based on my experience on working directly in partnership with the City of Richmond Parks and Rec, and then with our experience over the past 5 years through Colonial Beach Outfitters and working with all the other groups in town.
And some of these things are already in motion. Actually, as recent as 45 minutes before the meeting, I was on the phone with someone trying to gather documents for what the correct ordinances and legal processes are to have all this done and how you gather that together. So my first ask I asked of council was that they allow us to develop a rec advisory committee, and we would bring a resolution forward at the next meeting with the members that we would like to be a part of it, and also for recognition by the town as a true department. That it is a Parks and Rec, and we have a baseline Parks and Rec department.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I'd like to add, Councilman's recommendation or desire is that we set up in our FY20 budget, upcoming budget process, maybe a line item, anything that we do organizationally, it would be smart to tie a line item associated with that for funding. I think that's what would give that extra push behind the association and behind the membership, that we put a little bit of money behind it. Any more questions?
I apologize, that's what I was trying to say, Mr. Robinson said.
I guess preliminarily, you have a lot of space to utilize, right? So we're not looking at new spaces to purchase right away, although we know we have a major need of parks in the north end of town. So that'll eventually come to fruition as we develop, I hope, or maybe sooner. So I would think that bare bones, you need administrative costs to get things started, to find out what's needed, and you'll reach out, I guess, to other jurisdictions or things of that nature.
I have some as to, it's kind of difficult because a lot of people have a full running Parks and Rec department. There's, I mean, when you ask what their Parks and Rec department costs, they'll say millions. And that's not where we're at yet. We're looking to develop, like you said, the administrative part of it, so it can be continuously growing
Right,
into hopefully something of that nature.
very
And
good.
if I could just interject, the
Sure.
other piece of it is to utilize all the things that are already happening here, but possibly support those things in a role, you know, paying a teacher, helping a facilitator, you know, navigating the permit process, some of those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
Mhm. I see, it looks a lot like what the Chamber of Commerce and the town did with the NGOs by bringing everybody together and getting everybody on the same page of music. Even though they're different, at least they know who's doing what and where, so we're not duplicating expenditures and things like that as well.
And one of our thoughts for the summer was to kind of, again, this be looked at as a pilot, and to ask some of the groups that are already doing their own programming to maybe select one or two that could fall under the Kelowna Beach Parks and Rec program for this summer season. Then we would almost have, you know, anywhere you go, they have a book of the classes and the things that are going on, so that for this summer season, we could have, you know, a taste of what, but that would give us some documentation moving forward for grants and other things that we would have, numbers and different things like that.
Would Kathy set up a motion for next work session to form the advisory?
I've already talked to her about that, to form that, and I'm gonna get with them.
And normally we require them to have bylaws and
This will be the
okay. I'm fully on board.
Yeah. And also, a note, that something that came up in our marathon work session on Saturday, is we need the police department, with the assistance of our attorney Jim, to develop an ordinance for our parks, okay? Because currently, the way I see it is, we have signage on Torrey Smith Park saying you can't be there after dark and things like that, but I'm not sure if you can actually put teeth in that, because we don't have any kind of ordinance. You know, saying that if ordinance so-and-so says you can't be here after dark, you can't ride bikes on the courts, whatever. So, just try to.
Maybe
If
the
I can-
police department is a partner in the
And
Parks and
Parks and Rec,
Rec.
I was gonna say, if I can add, that's stuff that is going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I didn't say a Parks and Rec committee, I said a Rec Advisory Committee.
Okay.
Because the first thing you do is develop that, to which where you
Yeah.
develop your bylaws and your ordinances and stuff like that.
Right.
So then you can operate the actual Parks and Rec department.
Well,
That has to happen before you can have the full thing.
What I would ask is if the chief and the manager and Jim Cornwell got together sooner rather than later with spring coming, so that we can kind of just, make it clear that if we need to do something, we can. We don't want to do anything, obviously, we shouldn't have to, hopefully we won't, but if you actually have to do something, so that we don't end up in litigation because we did something and didn't have the right to do it. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, we can work in parallel with Councilman I's efforts and when that association is there, we have something, we come with a document in hand to facilitate that moving forward.
Great, thank you. Is that all, Pat?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Hahn? No, thank you, very, very good, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this is exciting, actually, I like that. Okay, Susan French? Susan Denise, sorry, Flagstaff, our friend.
Hello, thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. I thought that it was a good idea to stop in since we're coming to the close of year number 2. So I just wanted to give kind of just a brief overview and a brief recap of what we started off with, what our goals were, and what we've done so far, and then what next steps might be. So during our very first communication with the town, we talked about the town having a circular problem, that it needed more tourists to generate revenue, but to attract the tourists, it needed a tourism product, and to develop that product, it needed investors, and to get the investors, we needed to have the promise of positive ROI, i.e. tourists, which took us back to that beginning of that circle. So you know, tourism is clearly, it's a major industry. It's vital to local, regional, state economies. The dollars that get invested by visitors and investors pierces that circle. So it brings in dollars that are in direct spending, tax collections, and the trickle-down effect is that Colonial Beach becomes a place that people want to visit, that residents want to settle in, businesses want to establish a presence, real estate values go up, economic development increases, and the quality of life for residents improves. So our first goal was to generate awareness for Colonial Beach and establish it as a destination that visitors specifically sought out. Mr. Lehman and I had a conversation on my very first time here, how I found Colonial Beach completely by accident, and he did as well. And so that was what we wanted to change. We wanted to make sure that people were not finding it by accident, that they were hearing about it because they were being targeted. So the first thing we did was some research. We identified target audiences, their preferences, and notably that turned out to be tourists from places like DC and Richmond. They were kind of the low-hanging fruit. The next thing we did was create a brand, which was Visit CBVA. We created the logos, we did websites, I'm sorry, that's next page. No, wait, we skipped a page, I think.
Back one, take it.
Okay, sorry. Created the logos, set up social media accounts, created other marketing collateral based on best practices. We tried to make everything visually appealing that matched the beach town environment that we were going for, or visual brand that we were going for, unique, informative, and something that would evoke positive responses. So, you know, those are the logos. And that's the brand awareness pyramid, which, you know, you have to start off by generating awareness, then you have to have a positive association. So everything you present to the public, that how it connects with your brand, you want to make sure it's positive. Then people will come and they'll try it. And if they like it, which we hope they do, that's our goal, they'll come back. And then after that, they will be our sounding board, our voice. That's why we are so adamant about social media, because other people's voices get amplified. It's not just our own. So we zeroed in on everything we've done. On everything we've done, we zeroed in on Colonial Beach's attributes, what we saw as outsiders as the low-hanging fruit. You have this beautiful beach, you had these marinas, you have just all of these different things, the wildlife and the people and the golf carts, and we zeroed in on all of these things that as outsiders, you know, we saw as really unique and really fantastic, that maybe you weren't aware of how really special it really was. And then we engaged in public relations, the social media, some digital marketing, SEO, helped apply for grants and other activities like partnerships and things of that sort. So some of the analytics that we wanted to share with you are visit cbva.com, which is our primary website. It's where we drive audiences to. It's the place where we do our selling. In 2018, when the website launched, we had 40,000 visitors, just over 40,000 visitors that year. In 2019, we had over 100,000. And this year already, for the month of January, which should typically be an incredibly slow month, we've had over 4,000 visitors already. So we're pretty excited about that. Every month has been, you can see from the chart, every month of the second year has outpaced the first year by quite a bit. The social media, again, the social media is how we get other people to amplify our message, and they're a more reliable source than we are. You know, so it's like if you pay for an advertisement in a newspaper, it's not as compelling or believable as an article in a newspaper. Same way, if we are tooting our own horn on our social media, it's not as compelling or believable as somebody who's not somebody on the outside who's talking us up. On Facebook, after about a year and a half now, we currently have 3,000 followers, Twitter 1,500, Instagram 1,500, and on Instagram, if you look up the hashtag Visit CBVA, other people have used that over thousands of times, and the hashtag Colonial Beach has been used over 12,000 times. Pinterest, we get about 2,300 monthly impressions, and Yelp, we've had just about 15,000 views. And if you're not familiar with Yelp, I wanted to specifically point that one out because, each of these social media has a little bit different personality. Facebook is very local. So, you know, a lot of our followers are people who already know about us, engage with us. It's really hard to get new people to find you on Facebook. Twitter is, it's very regional. So we engage in what's called Twitter chats. And it's where there's a host on Twitter and they use a dedicated hashtag, and they ask a question and you can answer it by putting in your answer and then using that dedicated hashtag. So we participate in them a lot. And a lot of travel bloggers and influencers, a lot even in the DC and the Northern Virginia area, have found us this way. And so, you know, Twitter is more topical, whereas Facebook is more local. Instagram is just all about pretty pictures. So, you know, we encourage people, if they come here, to share their own photos by using our hashtag, which is hashtag Visit CBVA. And then with Yelp is very big in places like DC and Richmond, especially DC. Washingtonians will use it to find restaurants, you know, just about everything. They'll use it for all kinds of things. So we were actually very aggressive with that. We even placed some ads with them because Washington DC was one of our major target markets. And having 15,000 views is really good, I think, for that. We are on the first page of Google. We've been there now for a while for a number of different search terms for Colonial Beach, Virginia, Colonial Beach tourism. We mostly come up third, and that's after the town website, which is, you know, has been there for a long time and is the most authoritative body. And then there's one other website that's been up for, I think, almost 2 decades, or, you know, like 15 some years. So we fall behind them as of yet. But we've gone from having a 4% share to a 14% share in just the last 5 months alone. So we're moving up in that. So we've been featured, Visit CBV, Colonial Beach has been featured in dozens of print, broadcasts, online media. It's been in Southern Living, on their Instagram, their social media, Richmond Magazine, Travel Zoo. This provides credibility. So again, this is the same thing as we could put an ad in all of these things, but there's more credibility when there's an article and somebody else writing it. The most recent one, if you haven't seen it, is Mr. Nelson just gave me the Washingtonian article from this month. Please take a look at it if you haven't seen it. There's a section in here that talks about second houses, vacation houses, and Colonial Beach is listed as the #1 place to get a second home for under $500,000. Now, this was not a component of tourism, but these things don't happen in a vacuum. You know, if they don't know about you, they're not going to know to investigate these types of things. So, you know, we really think that the whole town working together and generating publicity and doing all these wonderful things has resulted in some of these really high-end media hits that we've seen. So tourism, you know, again, along the lines of this, tourism attracts visitors to the area. People fall in love with the community. They end up purchasing property as potentially their new primary residence, their second home, or an investment property. Mr. Nelson did verify for me that real estate prices are steadily rising, and the quality of the homes are also increasing. So when I first found Colonial Beach in 2017, my husband and I were thinking about buying a property here. You could buy a cottage for $100,000. You can't do that anymore. There are simply fixer-uppers are just really hard to come by right now. So, you know, people are buying them, they're fixing them up, and whether they're reselling them or renting them, whatever, it is certainly helping to increase the real estate, the value of the real estate. And we've also seen a major increase in interest and inquiries from social media influencers, from bloggers, writers, and the media, including at the Amazon television show AWOL. You know, they're all coming to us. They're starting to come to us now. Instead of us having to convince them, they're starting to come to us, and that's what we always want to see. So civic cooperation and involvement increases tourism, bottom line. You know, Patrick, Mr. I just talked about how the volunteers, and I've heard Susan Matt talk about it, and other community leaders about how the volunteers are what really make these events and these things happening in town come to fruition. And we don't disagree with that. There have been all kinds of partnerships that have been formed between the town and the NGOs and the nonprofits and the organizations, and everybody working together helps fund all of these different events. It spurs new attractions. It generates goodwill. It shows a positive, unified front to outsiders and potential investors. So we've worked very closely with the town government and offered support to other organizations to try and help them with their efforts. Some of the things that have come to fruition, either through our efforts or other people's efforts, are, for instance, the Edna Lockwood. The Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum brought the Edna Lockwood to Colonial Beach during the annual Potomac River Festival. That's huge. They only had a certain number of stops that they were going to be making, either on the Chesapeake Bay or on the Potomac, and they picked us. So that was pretty exciting. The World War I and World War II Commemoration Day, we worked with the town to secure a grant to make that happen, and we had planes flying here. We had World War II planes flying over. We had the Marine Corps, the Marine Barracks Silent Drill Platoon. I am so proud of that. I mean, you have no idea. Like, it was just such an honor to have them come here, and I can't say enough about that. We worked with the town. Maggie Lane spearheaded the 50 Years of Love campaign. And got businesses involved and secured a grant to do our first travel and tourism video. I hope everyone's seen it because it was great, and that's super exciting. And all these other different things. We next week we'll be taking part with the Chamber and Northern Neck Tourism to go around to different entities in the Northern Neck and learn more about other places, so that again we can expand that camaraderie and expand that collaboration and start to help sell the area as a tourist destination overall. We also work with the Chesapeake Bay Wine Trail, and specifically Ingleside, to kind of cross promote their events with ours, our events with theirs. And so all of this has been anecdotal. Everything I've told you, all the proof I've given you about the efforts that have been made and the successes that we've had. So there are some more tangible, practical results that we can talk about. So in 2019, and I got the numbers as best as I possibly could, but in 2019 there have been over a dozen new businesses, inquiries, or business expansions. We've had people comment about how they've seen record crowds on holidays and at special events. We've had people who run lodging facilities tell us that they've had higher occupancy rates. Restaurants are filled up more. There's been a general, we feel, and this is more anecdotal I guess too, but there's been a more general awareness, we think, about the environment and about the Potomac River and conservancy and sustainability, and the town has applied for environmental type grants. So these are all things that we think are really important. And then finally, probably the most important, is that it is estimated that the fiscal year revenue from meals and lodging and sales tax is expected to be significantly higher than it was in former years. And we wanted to point out that all of this has been done with really no marketing budget to speak of, besides what we are contracted to do. Typically, municipalities, they have a tourism marketing budget that's for salaries or retainers, administrative costs, and actual marketing efforts, such as advertising, graphic design, travel, associated, related costs. We are really excited and we're very proud of the success that we've achieved with the zero marketing budget, especially since we did note at the beginning of the relationship that we felt that without any kind of paid investment, the results would be might be limited. But they've exceeded, I think, our expectations as well. So what we can say to that is, imagine what we could do if we had any kind of advertising or paid marketing budget. And I just wanted to put it into perspective, oh, I'm sorry, could you go back? I just wanted to put into perspective, now obviously we're not Virginia Beach, but I wanted to just show to you what happens when you have a budget and what that translates to. Virginia Beach has a $21 million tourism marketing budget. This past year, they had a record $2.45 billion in visitor and tourist spending. So, the point here is that you put some money in, you hopefully will get a whole lot back. Historic Triangle has an $11 million budget. Stafford County, $2 million. Gloucester, which I believe might be very similar, and all of these, the remaining four, they're what I could find the closest in size and scope to who we are and what we offer. You know, they have budgets of $247,000, $110, $99, and $104. So, you know, Colonial Beach is growing. I think that it's earning the recognition that it has deserved. But if we want to maintain that and even accelerate it a little bit, we would just ask you to consider, you know, if there could be perhaps in the next budget something that could be put aside for any kind of paid promotion, paid advertising. And we don't know what that is yet specifically, but we do have some at night. You can go. Next one. But some of the ideas that we have. So explore more paid opportunities. We think it's time for a website refresh. So we have some ideas about what that website might look like. It's very similar to how it is now. It's very visual because Colonial Beach is beautiful and that's what sells it. So it would still be a very visual website, but there might be things like itineraries on there, or, you know, we might think about potentially opening up advertising to businesses if they wanted to do something on the website. We don't have it all figured out yet, but when you do refresh your website, it helps with your SEO. And it would enable us to offer maybe packages through our website. You know, if we can find some co-marketing opportunities, either between businesses just in town and also maybe some outside town. Like there could be a history package, for example, you know, that involves Stratford or, you know, wherever, something like that. We also have talked about email marketing and newsletter opportunities. This is a way for us to be able to capture people's emails and kind of keep us top of mind, you know, to keep grabbing their attention by sending them, whether it's a monthly newsletter or whatever that might be. Co-marketing opportunities. So again, you know, that might include like this Northern Neck tourism is one example. VTC events and things of that nature. You know, we do participate in a limited number of Virginia tourism events and activities. We'd like to be able to expand that. Geo-targeting. This is one that I admittedly do not know a whole lot about. My partner does, and I'm sorry he couldn't be here. But the way he explained it to me is that with the geo-targeting, it's very much a lot like Yelp, like I talked about. So when you go onto Yelp, you can look up restaurants, you can look up attractions, you can look up parks, you can look up whatever, and it shows you those things within a certain geographical area that you can make bigger or make smaller. And, you know, that's something that we think might work for around here as well, so that if people are in the area, let's say they're, you know, driving down 301, you know, I'm hearing a lot about 301 and how the traffic is expected to increase on 301 in the next year or two. So if people are driving down 301 and they think they might want to make a stop, they're coming from, you know, someplace in the Northeast and they want to make a stop, they're not sure where they want to stop, they might go onto their phones, you know, they're more likely to be on their phones and looking up a place to go. And with geo-targeting, they might find us, you know, even though we're a little bit off of that way. If their parameters are large enough, they could find businesses right here in Colonial Beach. So it might be a way to attract those type of people. Trade shows, there's all kinds of different travel trade shows. Some are very popular and very well attended by bloggers and travel media. So it would give us an opportunity to connect with them. And also at some of these trade shows, you also have a lot of investors and a lot of like other stakeholders that we might be able to grab their attention at something like this. The social media cards at the Tourist Center, I have been begging for this for 2 years. I am asking you to please, somebody approve it. We have people who sit on the beach with nothing to do, right? So what better for them to do while they're sitting on the beach just relaxing is go onto their phone and do a review on our Facebook page, on our Yelp page, on our anything. Take a picture of the Potomac River and the beach and post it on their Instagram right then and there. It would be easy for us to be able to just hand them a card that has all of our social media on it. It doesn't have to be a big card, it could be business size, but just hand it to them so that right then and there on the spot, you know, we're more likely to get them to act if we ask them to do it right then and there. So if that's possible. And we've brought up the topic of branded merchandise. You know, I think we have this really fun logo, and there are things that we could do with it, whether put it on t-shirts, whether put it on mugs or whatever. I think it would be great to have branded merchandise, which is also like, you know, kind of a walking billboard, if you will. Any questions?
I think it's awesome. Thank you. It's obvious that there's been a significant change to the town's certainly population, tourists coming to town. And I think that probably one of the biggest eye-openers was the winter boat parade, and which turned into, fortunately for us, the lighted Jeep parade as well. So I think we had probably around 700 people here in town for that. All the parking spaces were full, which is unusual. So we're lucky typically to get maybe 10. That was huge. Yeah.
We did. I did just eat over at the Riverboat, and Penny made a comment about how she said that they're seeing different people.
Yeah.
You know, they're not seeing the same faces anymore. So it was really nice to hear her say that.
Yeah, we noticed that. We're trying to just keep up with it as well. So, and I just hope it's going to be a good synergistic results. I hope. Any questions from you?
I just want to say that in attending the meeting today, the presentation by our broker for property and expecting and hoping for some positive growth, and this is the biggest thing that we're doing to invest in economic development, is the work that you do. And so it is really vital, since it's a small thing, but it is probably I think the biggest step forward in economic development that we have right now. And our real estate brokers and other real estate agents at that meeting vocalized to me how important it was that the council continues to support promoting Colonial Beach. And I'm not sure that we really do a good job with that, except through you. So it is really important what you're doing, and I do hope we can find a little inkling of funding for at least some printed material for the visitor center. It's just an important part of it, and it plays a role in everything else that we're doing too. So thank you, and we'll see about maybe getting you at least the tourism card.
I didn't mention it, but the website, like I think it was 70%. I haven't looked at it recently, but it's really high. That approximately 70% is mobile based. So the majority of the new visitors are finding us mobilely somehow, which is why I think geotargeting might be a good thing. Definitely maybe some Google AdWords. We did do a little bit of that, and I think if you want to go back to that page, I'm sorry, I don't remember which page it was here. The one that had the analytics on it. Yeah, so if you look at that, I mean, obviously it's not uncommon that the summer months are the highest, but in July, you see that's been the highest so far. Now in 2018, the highest was in August, but 2019 it was July. And it's no accident, because in July, that's when we were promoting most heavily the World War I and World War II event, because we had the grant money that enabled us to do that. So we were engaging in Google AdWords. We put in a lot of print ads. I didn't see a whole lot of traffic from the print ads, but definitely from the Google AdWords was huge. And another thing that, and I didn't, and that's the other thing. So last year in 2018, our top referrer was social media. It was Facebook, it was Instagram, it was Twitter. In 2019, the top referrer to our website were search engines. So that means that people are typing in Colonial Beach, or they're typing in something, and our SEO is actually working. We have the right keywords, and that's how people are finding our website. So if we were going to do anything, even on a limited capacity, I would encourage something like that, like more AdWords. Maybe not necessarily Google Ads, maybe one or two, we could try them, but definitely the AdWords.
Are we able to capture anything, because I know the Chamber of Commerce has had a huge part of this as well, with bringing, keeping advertising. What you're not advertising, I know some of it's a duopoly, I guess. You both advertise some of the same things or same events and things like that. But
well, we don't advertise at all, really.
Well, I mean, okay. Capture the data then from from search engines. For instance, this is hashtag, what is it, Colonial Beach? Visit CBVA. And then the Chamber of Commerce is, you all have a different website as well, correct? Which is Colonial Beach, Virginia Chamber of Commerce, right? Is that correct? And I think that comes up. Go ahead. When you type in Colonial Beach, Virginia, I notice the chamber comes up somewhere in like the first seven or somewhere as well. So my point is it's good that there's some repetitiveness as well. And then on top of that, when you have the outreach that you get with the volunteers as well, doing HGTV and other things like that we've done. I know they've done some advertising as well. I think sky's the limit for all of this, and I'm looking forward to continuing successes across the board.
And that's why I think it's important that, you know, we're in communication with the chamber a lot, you know, and the foundation, and the more positive messaging we could get out there on a regular basis, the more, you know, all of us, I mean, each in our own, you know, stall, but it's collectively everybody. And the more we can do that, the more we're tamping down the negativity, and you know, changing the narrative, basically. Because it is, so, you know, we all share each other's. The chamber shares our social media stuff, we share the chamber's social media stuff, you know, we're all supportive of each other, and I think that makes a huge difference.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
if I may. And this is probably due to my background, but I think that we're 2 years into our campaign, and we've reached that evolutionary stage where I feel comfortable in our upcoming budget numbers, our upcoming audit numbers that we'll be able to present within a month. On top of what has been briefed tonight, that I carve out in this upcoming budget some monies that can be used for advertising to take us to that next stage. I feel pretty comfortable. We've got a Colonial Beach logo that is now trademarked. There's no reason that the uniform pursuit that council directed staff to go after for different departments, maybe our logo goes on that. I think brand recognition. Maggie was able to put the new radio station, a link on our website where you click on it. So I think we're at the point where we need to start branding ourselves and put some financial responsible money behind this effort to take us to the next stage, if it so pleases.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you very much. And so I guess, when will we see you again?
When do you want me here? Well, I'm actually coming back on the 6th.
5th. You're going to do the February 5th bus tour?
Yes.
Okay.
It's on the 6th.
On the 6th. Okay. Okay, very good. Let's see, what else? We meet on what, the 5th? Reportedly? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe we meet on the 5th.
I might not have much to share more by then.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, it is this 5th next week.
Is it on the 5th or the 6th? Let's get that right so people don't go the wrong day.
The meeting is the 5th and the 6th is the bus tour.
Okay, very good. I guess it's similar to what we did, Susan?
Yes, sir.
Similar to what the one I went on? I know the one I went on was overnight, but similar thing, right?
I don't know the overnight one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I went on
I'll
a
talk
Virginia
about
tourism,
it. I'll
Virginia
talk about
tourism
it when I
one,
get up.
and they took us down to Whitestone, and we went to Westmoreland Park, and there's some really cool stuff going on at the Longwood University's property that they're doing shore revitalization, living shorelines and things, and stuff like that. But okay, I'll talk to you offline on that. So, good stuff. Cool. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. Okay. Quinn and Lisa. I've been asked by the council to see if you could keep this brief. The reason is because we have not had a chance to have a first read on this. So we're going to be staring at you like we don't know what you're talking about. Okay, just want to make that clear.
I understand, and finances has that effect on most folks.
Yes, it does.
But no, in the spirit of your guidance, in your request, what I'll do is kind of orient you to the packet that you were given. That way council can take the next cycle and kind of digest and then come up with any questions that they might have. So what we were able to give you is the first financial report in many, many months. And it's going to run all the way through December 1st. So the numbers that you have in front of you are the different revenues and expenditures all the way through December 31st, with the understanding that they haven't gone through a bank reconciliation process. And that's just a fancy term to where you have these one little minute activities that are kind of like one-off adjustments. Yeah, no, I've been actually reassured by the finance department and the CFO that in our case, there are just small adjustments. So for analytical purposes, what you have in front of you is really up to date and accurate through December 31. We're going to be processing, and we believe over the next 4 weeks, we can do this bank reconciliations to really kind of what we call end out those months. So by this time next month, you're going to see the same report with all the little nuance changes. Additional finance information, since we're on topic, we've been able to reach out to the audit firm Robertson, Farmer and Cox. Spoke with their representative today, and he assures me by the 3rd week of February, he will be able to give me a draft document for your consumption, with the understanding that in March he will be able to brief that draft document.
So we're looking at audit in March.
Yes, they're going to present the audit in March, but he feels comfortable enough to say that by the 3rd week of February, he can send us draft documents for council to consume. This way you have 2 to 3 weeks to look at the numbers, formulate any questions you might have for the auditors. He anticipates a brief that he will give you in March to be around 15 to 20 minutes, and he's reassured me that as of right now, he sees no issues or anything that we have to adjust in between now and then. I just wanted to share that with you. Again, back to the packet that you have in front of you, I think the bottom line up front that I can give you is that if you look at the one column that says revenues or the anticipated, if you see the column that says anticipated, think of that as what we budgeted. So that's the budget number that we plugged in to build this year's activity. Now, if I have you look all the way over to the year-to-date number, that's how much we have expended thus far. This particular report was a cumulative report that was ran from the beginning of the fiscal year until the end of December, and what's that showing you is that current revenue, that middle column. I'd like for you this month to disregard that middle column because it doesn't really mean that much to you. Next month, when we just do an individual run for the month of January, that's the number that will be represented in what was brought in and then what was spent in January. But this is a total of 6 months because I felt like council would be better served if we showed you where we are at from the beginning of fiscal year to end of date. And then at the to your very right, it's an excess and deficit column, and that column is just going to represent roughly the dollar amount that we've either brought. Explanatory questions that you might have.
No, I look forward to discussing this more, obviously well before the audit report is done. So I guess I'm not sure we will have the February 5th work session. There's been some contention on whether or not we do that or not. But if we do, would you be ready to explain this at length?
Yes, sir.
More in depth?
We can.
Will you have a January final by then as well?
Not the February 5th.
Okay.
No.
So at the regular meeting?
Yeah, we should.
Okay. So,
That's what, third Wednesday?
Yes, 19.
would the council be okay with, the finance office and the town manager's office to finish up the January, provide us with those, numbers via email, or if you wanna come in and sit down and explain it, type thing? And then if there's any, need for more, then we can do a special meeting or something, pull something out at that time. Otherwise, you'll keep us abreast so that when we do go into the audit, there'll be no surprises.
The only takeaway that I was going to additionally proffer is that right now, based off of the CFO and my look at it, according to what we said we were going to bring in for revenues and according to what we're going to spend, we're exactly where we said we were going to be.
Okay.
If you notice, the revenues that have been brought in, we're hovering anywhere, depending on the intake, 49 to 50%, which means that, number one, we projected correctly and that we're spending things the way we anticipated spending them, looking at previous year's activity. So that's reassuring. So that lets us know that we are on the pace. If that kind of helps the conversation or the future conversations that we'll have.
Okay. Okay, so that's great. And I, for one, hope that it stays like this and that there's no big surprises. But we all know that surprises do occur on occasion. So, okay.
Occasion I can handle.
Yeah. Is there any other council members anything to say? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to the finance office. Will you tell the rest of your folks?
Yes, I
Thank
will.
you. I know you've been through a lot recently.
And they have been working very hard to
Yeah.
get us caught up to this.
No
point.
doubt about it. I know when I stopped in there, everybody's very, very busy. Would you please share with them from the council how much we appreciate their hard work? Thank you. Palm Beach Schools. Mr. Turner?
Just want to say once again, thank you guys for having us tonight. I think we're going to talk about, is it time to talk about the resolution? Or the CIP that's in the packet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that, no, we have a resolution on the agenda.
Okay.
They
Okay.
said, well, yeah. They said,
Don't we?
Is that what you, oh, you just want my
Yeah.
update? You just want an update from me at this point? Oh, okay. Oh, everything seems to be going well. We started off.
We're not ready.
Okay, I'm sorry. You know me, I'm all about business. I kind of got ahead of myself. Thank Mr. Tripp for that. No, everything seems to be going well this year. Kids are starting the second semester at the high school. Had a good 2 days now. Just wrapped up testing. Taking a look at our test scores and just really trying to hit the ground running and doing the best job we can for the students. Teachers are doing a really good job staying the course, doing their very best job at establishing relationships, but also keeping the expectations high. You know, sometimes you have difficult moments here and there, but I do believe that our teachers are working extremely hard, and we just want to thank them all, and then also to our administrators. Last week I believe for the state of Virginia, it was Principal Recognition Week, and I really want to thank the teachers for doing a really good job at recognizing the hard work of the Mrs. Coates for the elementary school and the work of Mrs. Williams at the high school. They both go above and beyond. They spend countless hours inside of the school, sometimes 12-hour days, if not longer. And they do it without a complaint. And I truly appreciate both of them. I really do, because it makes my job is difficult, but it makes my job much easier when you have people that work as hard as they work. So if you see them, thank them. You see a teacher, thank them too, okay? I would greatly appreciate that. That's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Trivett, Westmoreland County Supervisor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. I really have nothing to add other than what I talked about on Saturday. I'd be glad to repeat that if you'd like for me to. But that was a pretty impressive meeting to be at. And I understand it went for quite a long time, and I'm glad I didn't stay the whole time. But I just have to tell you that just reviewing the list and seeing that y'all have goals and objectives, it's the right way to go, and you know already what it's done for the town. You know, it's something you can measure, and I think it's better for everybody. And then the town knows what's going on. When you're doing it, they're not coming and talking to you, and then they're coming and talking to you again, want to know what's going on. You're reporting back on it, and I just think it's a great process that you've got going. And you might need to break that up in a couple meetings next year and you know, but.
It's a long day.
Tonight, they're putting that tower, from my understanding, into operation. They're programming the radios. It'll be digital as far as fire and rescue. So looking forward to that occurring because it's going to greatly enhance the communication and you know, will save lives. And it's long overdue, so I'm really glad to see that happening. If you do have a letter or anything, I'm going to be meeting with the town manager on Friday. But before the next Board of Supervisors meeting, or anything you'd like for me to carry down there as far as bringing that next squad, I understand that this week they've obtained 2 squads that were in a building down in Mount Holly or somewhere down there for a long time, and they're brand new, and they've gotten their hands on them this week, what I understand, and so that may, you know, even make it quicker to add a new crew. And so obviously we want to do everything we can to see that comes here to our town rather than in Oak Grove, where we've got such a much longer response time. And I've shared that with the county, with everybody I've met with down there, how important that is for saving lives. And I know you share that same thought process as I do, and so do the residents in town. Is, you know, we shouldn't have to wait 15, 20, 30 minutes for emergency first aid to arrive if we can prevent that in some way. So I'm here tonight to, yes sir?
We touched on a little bit at the Saturday's work session, some options just were thrown around a little bit. You probably have not. I know you're a busy guy, and I know you have a full-time job as well, but it just glares to me that there's could be a synergy just to start, just as a starting point, since they already have the apparatus, if they get the personnel, we need a place to put them. That's the next fit, right? That's what the next.
That's correct.
And what it has to do. At least temporarily, either our rescue squad building, which already has rescue squads in it, or the firehouse, until we as a council and the town can figure out if there's another place that we can provide or something along those lines. Even if we've said we could provide you with, let's say, for instance, 700 Colonial Avenue, okay? It was going to take us a considerable amount of time to get that ready. So where the fire department would almost be an immediate thing, although sleeping quarters would have to be, you know, something for his and hers. You could have 2 bathrooms, or you could do his and hers bathrooms. But anyway, you know the deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My point is, I don't want us to lose the opportunity because we don't act fast enough. In other words, I don't want them to say, yeah, we'll do it. You have to have a place, you know, within a certain amount of time. I'd rather be way ahead of that, or at least thinking ahead of that.
I'll just tell you that the first time I met with the county administrator, we did discuss that, and he has had some conversations with the fire department.
Okay.
And I don't know where it's at this point, but there has been some discussion along those lines for possibly somebody to be housed at the fire department. There are sleeping quarters there. There are also, you know,
Showers.
facilities and things, but so I don't know what stage that's at, but I'll look into it further. I tend to try to stay right on top of that because it's extremely important when you're talking public safety, as everybody in this room knows. And I don't think we do want to lose an opportunity if we have an opportunity to put that squad right here in the town limits.
Well, I will tell you this, based on those numbers that we received, the responses to the town of Colonial Beach, it is absolutely glaring that it is a no-brainer where a unit needs to be housed. It's right here in the town of Colonial Beach. It's not even close
Right.
to the other districts.
Well, and I shared it with you, and I'll have to tell you this from the top of my head because I don't remember the numbers, but I know it was over 800 calls, close to 850 just in the town limits. It was another almost 800 that was just Westmoreland Shores and Placid Bay in the Oak Grove area. So The squad that is housed at Oak Grove is running approximately 1,500 calls a year.
But only 257 or 87 in the
In Oak Grove, that's correct. The majority of them are in Westmoreland Shores, and the majority is in Colonial Beach.
Right,
No doubt about it. I mean, it's not even, like you said, it's not even close.
right, not even close.
And I'm glad they mapped that because, and you know, the one thing that I would like to see, and I know they have the information, it's just putting it together, and they may even have it put together, is the response times. I'd really like to know how long it took to respond on average to a call in the town of Colonial Beach. And they may have those numbers. I'm going to ask for those numbers because that's even more data to show that the need. And I can guarantee you that, you know, the response times are going to be more than 3 or 4 minutes, which is what, you know, is ideal.
Right.
But
Yeah, I also know that every single call they go on generates a report where the response times is on each and every one.
well, it does, and I'm sure they have a record of it. You know, I'm sure that it's there. I didn't ask for that. I just asked for the number of calls and where they were actually located at, and it was, well, it wasn't really shocking to me because I hear them all,
Right.
you know, in this area, so I know how many it is. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for the volunteers, and as we discussed, you know, the volunteer squad does everything they can. The training requirements are so stringent and so repetitious, and just the different things that you have to do to keep it rolling is just unbelievable. And so the county, I think, has recognized that, you know, it's going to be more and more, you know, hired employees to keep it going, because as we discussed, I mean, it was 156 mutual aid calls. That means in King George or Richmond County or somewhere where they responded outside of their, you know, jurisdiction. So that's a lot, and we know how many mutual aid calls come here.
Right.
I mean, Dalvin responds here almost weekly, and so does King George. And it's like, it's because those other squads in the county are always on the road. And more times than not, when we have a call within the town of Colonial Beach, it's Montrose that's responding, because there's so many calls being run by the Oak Grove squad that they're it. You know, and if you look at those numbers, you can, I mean, it makes perfect sense. You see it. There's no denying it, you know, what's needed.
Yeah, and it's going to continue because of the 3-hour turnaround. So that's what
Sure.
each call takes if you transport 3 hours.
Yeah.
So if you figure 2 calls, that's a 6-hour day, right there.
Yeah, I don't see that changing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think you're going to see a hospital.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe in the future, we hope it would be wonderful. In King George, I think I've heard, you know, people are talking about some kind of medical center that's.
Yeah.
It would be great because it is. It's and I mean, we faced it for a long time, for our whole lives. But it's now. But you know, when we were much younger, it was nowhere near the calls.
Right.
You know, the fire department ran fire calls.
Right.
You know, and it was for fires, and now they're running 400 or 500 calls a year just for EMS. As you well know, what that means in every jurisdiction, just not here. That's everywhere. So that's the important thing. I don't remember if there was anything else we talked about on Saturday that I need to mention. I'm getting older and I'm getting more forgetful when I don't write things down ahead of time. But that's the most important thing that I know that's pending immediate action. So and hopefully the town manager, I can see what you would like to offer that I can take to that meeting and announce it at that meeting. You know, the very next Board of Supervisors meeting, that we have a desire to have that squad.
Yeah, I think we'll generate a letter for that, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, does anybody else have any questions?
I do, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Trivett, I have to apologize. It's a long 2-hour ride down here to get here for this meeting, and I had to excuse myself. This may have already been covered, but what does it cost in the county to man an ambulance 24/7, 365? Do you know?
I do have something that has that number on it, I believe, that I was provided, but I don't have it with me.
Okay.
I'll be more than glad to get that for you. But I do have a document of how much revenue they've taken in from where they charge people that uses that, plus, you know, so that offsets it some. And so I'll see if I can get you that information.
And in the old days when I was in Roanoke County, when the county started with paid career staff, as far as medics go, they would only bill if the person had insurance. Does the county bill everyone?
Oh yeah, I think everybody's billing now.
And what's an ambulance bill cost now?
Well, I mean, I know some of my family members that have paid $1,500, so I don't know. And if you want to get on that helicopter and fly for 10 minutes, it's about $35,000. So, but I understand that, you know, the new rescue captain has looked at that, and there's going to be a lot less flights. I mean, it really, as you know, you've seen the helicopter land up here 2 or 3 times a week, and I mean, if you didn't die from the heart attack that you were having, and when you got that bill, you were probably wanting to. And I mean, many people knows that what I'm talking about, because that's unbelievable. And the sad thing about that is, even though it's critical, by the time it takes that helicopter to fly 20 minutes here, and that squad to get to where it's going to land, to that landing zone, and then they assess the patient, and they hook them up to IVs, and they do all these other things, and administer meds, or whatever they're going to do, that patient could have been to Mary Washington Hospital. I mean, and it's really, it's needed on some occasions. I absolutely believe that. But, you know, we've known people that were almost beating the helicopter back, or the squad. They were there. Next thing you know, they're right back, and it's like, wow, how in the world did that happen? And I mean, you know, people can't afford that kind, and your insurance is not going to pay that bill. I don't know whether because it's a billing system that the county uses, I don't know whether they pursue you now if you don't pay the bill, or what they're doing. I really don't have those details, but thank you for generating that question, and I will look into all that and see if I can get you an answer. Because it's something that you should know, no doubt about it. And even the volunteer squad, when they run, they charge. So I don't know how that works. I think they just get a percentage back to them. I mean, the county charges that bill, and I think a percentage of that comes back to the squad. But I don't want to speak ignorantly about anything like that, because I really don't know the facts, and I don't want to misspeak. So, but I'll look into that and see all that's. I'm sure information can be acquired pretty easily.
Thank you.
And I'll let you know that.
I know for sure one thing, none of it's free. And all the supplies that come from the hospitals, they cost a lot of money, and that all has to be paid for, so, as well.
Yeah, and the only thing that's free is when those volunteers run those calls.
That's right.
And I mean,
their time is free.
And it's unbelievable. I mean, anybody that's in public service that does that, people don't realize, I don't think, really the amount of hours that go into the training and what the state requires you to have. You just don't go get on one of those pieces of apparatus and run, as you well know, Mr. Mayor, because you did it for many, many years. It's whether you're a volunteer or paid, it's the same requirements.
That's right.
Same training, and when if most of these people have full-time jobs, and it's just gotten too much, and you don't have the young folks that are ready to pick that baton up and run. It's just not going to happen. And we see that with everything in our life now, whether it's a family business and your family's it ain't happening. They could care less about any of that stuff anymore. They don't want to be associated with it if possible. They just want the revenue from it. And and that's the truth. And I mean, unfortunately, we've caused a lot of that ourselves. I hate to tell you, but because you want your kids to be better than you were, and you've got them better than you are. They're getting out of college wanting to be the CEO of the company before they even know what the heck's going on.
Definitely smarter than you.
But anyway,
You're talking about me.
well, the good thing is, Ms. Schick, is I have a personal knowledge of these kind of things. So, and that's that. So I can talk about it. I'm talking about me. I don't ever think I'm talking about anybody else. Normally, when I relate to something, I'm really talking about me, because I've done it, and it's just sad, a lot of things that you see, but anyway, we got to deal with it, and we will, but we hope that there'll be volunteers like some of the people in this room are, and that some spark of that will generate them wanting to do that, and because gosh, you've got so many people just in this room that's just given so much of their time and energy and their life to making this place we live in a better place. I mean, this is just awesome what this lady just sat here and showed. Is just It's just awesome. And it's going to change who we are. There's no doubt about it. And it's going to make things positive. And that's what we need to do. We need to always do the best we can at being kind, like some people remind us on a constant basis with signs and their kind words. If we can do that, even when we disagree, we are going to be just the best town ever. And people want to be here and they'll want to be a part of that. And they'll want to tell other people about that. And I'm trying hard to do that. Eric is helping me with the sign he gave me. It's in my yard, and I look at it every single day and think that, you know what, I don't always have a good day, but you know, I can ask for forgiveness, and I can also try to do better the next day when I have those bad days. And we're all there. We all do it. And the older I get, the harder I am to be around. I just have to tell you. Ask my grandchildren. You know, I can't take but so much of them, and I gotta go somewhere. You know, so now I know what my mother always talked about, and I don't know how she did it. I just really don't. It's like, oh my gosh, now I'm at that age.
Mr. Travis.
So anyway, anything else? Because I don't want to. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but this was my first meeting to be with you and to be with the town, and I'm looking so forward to the next 4 years. And I do have a full-time job, and I have more than one full-time job actually. And you know, so this will be hopefully less stressful. And either way, though, please, when you have something or you want to meet with the county, you want to do anything, call me. I'll rearrange my schedule. We'll do it together. We'll make it happen, and you know, we'll all be better for it. So we know there's some issues coming up in the near future that we'll be dealing with, and I'll be right there by your side dealing with those, and you know, and support you 100%, because unless somebody can show me otherwise,
very good.
I'll be right there saying, nah, you know, let's prove it. And if people can prove things that were wrong, then we'll say, okay, we're wrong, and we'll do it right, and we'll go forward.
Thank you, Mr.
So, okay? All right, thank you.
Planning? Planning Commission? Maureen? Good evening.
Good evening. It's nice to be with you.
Nice to have you with
You're
us.
having a lot of good news tonight, which is wonderful.
We're going to keep it up too, right?
Planning Commission is hoping to have the final review of the landscape and sign ordinance this week, and hopefully public hearing in the next month, and then you will have it in hand. So that is our big success there, because there was much to go over, and we had a lot of little minor changes, so you will get that within the next 2 months. One question that did come up, and I hope you can answer, because I thought it was yes, but I need to ask you, is it still at the top of our capital improvement plan? It says real estate sales are all going into capital improvement. Is that true?
Yeah, they have to, that's by town code.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 5% to rescue, 5% to fire, 10% to school, and 80% remainder to capital improvement.
All right, we all wanted to know that, since the past 2 years we haven't been funded in the capital improvement plan, and I hope that is not going to happen the third year. And we will have that to you shortly. The other thing is, we have put all the writings possible on the comp plan. We are now to the table of contents and to the thank yous and to all the data that we have received. And as we reviewed all the data from 2017 to the present day, there are an awful lot of people that we're going to have to thank. And we're going to make that public in the comp plan. And we are very grateful to all. All the NGOs have been cooperative. We've done a lot of work with the people and a lot of good interviews with many people. So I know I am very grateful, and I know the commission is also. Do you have any questions?
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Oh, you can have it.
Thank you, Maureen. Joyce, downtown Colonial Beach.
Good evening, folks. Thank you for letting Downtown Colonial Beach report. Basically, we have a lot of initiatives going this spring, and our noses are to the grindstone through June. It's just going to be constant work. Fortunately, we have all these dynamic, younger, talented people who have joined the board. We now have people under 70. It's amazing. And they're talented and they know social media, and it's just really exciting. In fact, one of those younger people managed to slip in a mini project that we did, which was a listing of the winter hours for all of our restaurants. Did a nice design for it. Chamber of Commerce laminated copies, and there is one posted on the community bulletin board and at the library. And Betty Felton, who did this, she's the manager of the River Edge Inn. She's also put it on Facebook, and maybe Susan can get it up as well. But it's on the bulletin board. A lot of people pull into town and they can't find anything open, and now they can. Okay, in terms of the National Historic District Cost Sharing Grant, we have essentially raised the funds. I was going to do a presentation this evening to Mitzi Sappos, who did a tremendous amount to make that happen. And there are so many townspeople and very generous people that made it go like a blink of the eye. And but I've learned from banners and other things that we should have a cushion. So we're continuing to fundraise on that. But also our team lead on the grant writing for the cost sharing grant, Jeff Crook, also under 70, is about halfway through writing the cost sharing grant, and we want to have that to you before the next council meeting as soon as we can, because it actually has to be submitted by the town, that cost sharing grant. So we need for you to see it, for your lawyer to look over everything and to have time to do that so we can get it in by mid-March. But the pace with which that fundraising went indicates a couple of things to me. One, there is a very strong commitment to the historic heritage of this town and wanting to showcase that. And secondly, that if the people on the point wanted to also go for historic district status, I think there'd probably be the support for it. Okay, on the next thing we're working on is the Virginia Main Street grant, which would be for a visual representation design, we hope, for that would reflect what the community wants and could be used for marketing to developers. Accidentally, I went to a Main Street training session and met a woman who is now working with us. She's a multiple property owner in Colonial Beach, happens to be a graphic designer, artist, streetscape designer, building project development designer, and she really couldn't help herself, and she started just developing renderings of what the downtown could look like, which are just beautiful, really classy, and just even the pictures of that, the things that she's done. So we've got some talent there that could really put together something visual to show developers. And there is a place for some higher priced home development. And I think such people want a place where they can bring their friends downtown and feel comfortable and, in fact, proud to bring their friends to their downtown. And that might well attract other some of the higher priced homeowners. Just a reminder though, of course, Main Street programs are always about shared prosperity. So in addition to the higher end, Main Street programs are always about securing the bin heres, making it possible for moderate income families to be able to find houses they can buy and rental properties so that we can keep our schools filled and our churches filled with young people. So we think what we're doing is going to appeal to the high end and everybody else as well. So we'll see how that goes. We have high hopes for it, but you never can tell. We're applying for a grant, we're not sure we're going to get it, or if we can, if that grant would do what we'd like to see, a visual representation of a beautiful downtown, because that's my phone ringing. Sorry.
Somebody's watching you.
It goes through my hearing aids, so you might not have heard it. Speaking about 70-year-olds. Okay, the Osprey Festival. Mother, we are really cracking down and working on this. This has been a very difficult year for this, because generally we would want it second weekend. That's Easter. So we were going to do it the 25th, and then one of our people couldn't come, and then the 18th, another of our people couldn't come, and we finally have set it down as May 2nd, Saturday, May 2nd, when our 2 star performers can be there. It's a little nerve-wracking when you have no money and you have to appeal. You have to get your entertainment free, but we've managed to do that. We're also talking with Rob about repairing banners. Unfortunately, we didn't listen to Steve Serby right at the beginning for insurance and safety reasons, and because we had put a contract a certain way, and Mr. Serby was right about things, and I think we are going to do things in a more secure fashion when we fix them. And we're working on the website, and also with the Osprey Festival, since we did so well with the National Historic District fundraising, we might well be able to apply funds raised to trees on Colonial Avenue. It's one of the options. So made 1,000 last year, and hopefully we'll make an equivalent amount this year. And so in the summer, after we get through May, we can start looking at what we can do on Colonial Avenue. Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Susan, Chamber of Commerce?
Is this yours, Joyce? Hello. The Chamber is in its membership drive and planning and update period during the winter time, out of the event season time. Some of the issues that we're addressing or have addressed include website management, updating the calendar and the membership sections, chamber bylaws, updates, reworking forms and documents that I'm going to talk a little bit about in a bit, membership management, budget development and management, Colonial Beach trolley advertising, social networking events and activities, development of the visitor's guide, signature event management with a focus on visitors, vendors, volunteers, and participants. And during this time, for the next month and a half, Sally and I will be working together, so there might be some times that the chamber's closed, So, but I can always get emails on my phone. So info@colonialbeach.org can get me anytime you need. The January Chamber Chat was delivered on the 21st. We are losing our This Month in History writer, Anne Flame. Anne's articles have been a real hit with the readers. They're both educational and witty. Anne volunteers for many projects in the community and has written for Chamber Chat now for 2 years. Her shoes are going to be hard to fill, but we hope to get somebody that can replace her, and we thank Anne very much for her time and talent. The Chamber is working with a group of businesses in Colonial Beach that are striving to establish Colonial Beach as a wedding venue. One project for the group is to have representation at the February bridal show in Fredericksburg. So we have Kelly with Riverview Inn has bought a table, which I was very surprised at how much those tables are at these bridal shows. And we're presenting a whole package to potential brides that includes everything from lodging and food and venues and music and photography and videography, etc. So we're looking to be a one-stop shop for weddings in the future. The Chamber and the Foundation, with consultation from Flack Shack, are working on a PR campaign that will help draw visitors to our shores and, very importantly, present a positive and unifying message for our residents, and especially with some of the social media impact. More to come on that. Congratulations to Hallmark Tattoo. They opened their doors last week on the 21st and had their ribbon cutting ceremony yesterday. Stay tuned for coverage in the Westmoreland News on that. And just as a reminder, you all are very well aware, this was a battle because they had to they had to change the code in order to be able to open this business in Colonial Beach. So it's an awesome new business. They're very excited. The physical plant looks wonderful, and we hope good things for them. I was going to say congratulations, and I still will, to Colonial Beach for being named the #1 place to buy a second home under $500,000 by the Washingtonian magazine. Susan, who's gone now, mentioned that and I think she had a handout Eric provided for that. Excellent coverage in a pretty prestigious magazine. The Chamber has supported the efforts of the Colonial Beach Foundation and 2 community volunteers, Christy Maupin and Joni Millward, who have done amazing work getting together this HBO video and what did I say? HGTV, I'm sorry. We're going in a different direction there, aren't we? I don't even want to think about that. But they gathered us all at the town pier, and there had to have been over 200 of us, and there was a drone and a video, and then they've been, as you said, golf carting around and videoing that. So what a wonderful, even if nothing comes of it from HGTV, it was a really warm, fuzzy, unifying experience for everybody involved with that. So hats off. Great work. And by the way, isn't that on the cover of the Westmoreland News today? Yes. So there you go. Yeah. This is talking about the tourism on the move. So the Chamber and the Northern Neck Tourism have worked together to provide a tourism on the move experience. And this involves us in Colonial Beach. We're the northern tip of the Northern Neck, getting to know more about the rest of the Northern Neck. And this is important from a tourism perspective because what research has found, and the Northern Neck Tourism hired a professor from Tech to research some of this for us. And what they found is that people who visit or vacation in the Northern Neck tend to not stay in one place. They tend to stay in multiple places. So this will enable, on the 6th, will enable folks from Colonial Beach to get to know more about other parts of the Northern Neck, and other parts of the Northern Neck are coming this way, north, to learn more about what's happening on our end too, so that we can make cross referrals. It's a pretty exciting thing. I do have some seats left, only a few. It again is from 9 to 3:30 on February 6th. Please do not just show up. Let me know if you're interested in coming. There's going to be free box lunches, so food's always an incentive. So feel free to email me and let me know about your interest in doing that.
Possible to send an employee or someone,
Richard is coming.
Oh, okay.
But you are welcome to send anybody else that you'd like. Speaking of Northern Neck tourism, as the representative from Colonial Beach and the Westmoreland County to the Northern Neck Tourism Commission, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the town of Colonial Beach for their continued support. They've gotten the check, and yes, thank you very much. And we really do believe that together we're stronger. So it's another great tourism collaboration. I added a few things to my, as we went through today, to my list here. Deshawn still is here. I'm glad of that. So Colonial Beach High School, and I think it's the junior class, is raising money for the prom, and they're selling t-shirts that are really very cute. This is, I don't have a big screen here, but t-shirts, and they come in different colors, and I think they're like $20. So support the school system here, maybe, and everybody get themselves a pretty t-shirt. Pardon me? I got that on.
You probably got it on the Facebook page. What we can do is put a link on the website, on the high school website, and if you would like to take a look at that and make a purchase, you can do it from there.
Yeah, it's one of the school. It might be the.
I think Jackie shared it tonight.
And I shared it on the chamber page too, so you can go there, and there's a link that can take you there as well. Thank you. Okay. Also, we have rewritten at the chamber our vendor applications, and we've added the 10% increase, and we're ready to send those out, so that will be happening soon. I want to add a little more sunshine to your life, because tonight really is a very feel-good night, isn't it?
So far.
The chamber, it's all good here. The chamber, this morning, I got a private message on our Facebook page, but it really reflects the efforts of so many, and it really represents what we've all been kind of talking about tonight. And it says, quote, "I have seen some very positive very positive changes taking place in Colonial Beach. We are so pleased that everyone is taking part in making our hometown a place to be very proud of. It is a blessing to be living in such a scenic and historic, beautiful town. God bless America." So, got that today. So that's a really nice thing. That was from Doris, I believe. That's all I have, and as always, thank you for all you do and for your support.
Thank you, Sue.
Any questions?
Eric, Colonial Beach Community Foundation.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. This is my first official time representing the foundation as the president, and my first official act in front of you is I would like to embarrass the previous president of the foundation, and I think I told you last month that I was going to do this, but I want to just thank Peter Farney, Dr. Peter Farney, for all of the years of dedication and hard work and perseverance, and all of that he's done to make the foundation the organization it is today. So thank you, Peter. Look at that scowl on your face. Yeah, I feel like I have some pretty big shoes to fill, but I think I'm ready for the challenge.
If I knew you were going to do that, I wouldn't have come.
I know. I didn't tell you. Anyway, so we've been up to a few things here at the foundation. One of the things that's coming up that I hope many of you come to is our annual chocolate and wine pairing event, which is going to be at the community center on February 14th. It's a fundraiser for the foundation. It is, I'm going to be the one who's going to be giving the presentation. I think probably most of you know, I used to own businesses where I did chocolate wine pairings. In fact, I taught classes, do classes on chocolate and wine pairing twice a month for 10 years. So I'm pretty well versed in chocolate and wine. So
it's not pretty well, it's really well.
Thank you, Vicki. Also, this year, the foundation, in cooperation with Kelowna Beach Outfitters, is going to be doing Cinema on the Green on Town Hill. So we're moving it from the community center to Town Hill. We are hoping that attracts a big crowd and becomes more of a central place for people to gather. And you sort of all hopefully get the idea. This is like the old drive-ins, but in your golf cart. So it's a lot of fun, and again, hopefully more people will come out and enjoy that. We also have a new gala that we're developing that's going to be happening in October of this year. It's going to be sort of a coming out party for the foundation. We've arrived. This is who we are and what we do. It's going to be a major fundraiser, and we're also going to be starting an award program where we have 3 awards that we're going to be giving at that event. The categories of the awards are beautification is one, cultural enrichment is another one, and community well-being. So those 3 awards will be granted at the gala in October. Just to also mention the radio station, I think somebody mentioned it earlier, maybe Susan, Janae's French mentioned that the radio station is now online. That's really exciting. It means that you can listen to the radio stations wherever you are sitting in front of your computer or on your phone even. Susan had mentioned, Mac had mentioned about the joint effort on the public relations campaign, and yes, the foundation is quite interested in working with the chamber and with other NGOs on a public relations campaign. And Susan and I'd be interested in hearing your input. We've been sort of throwing around some themes, and the theme that resonates with Susan and I is CB Proud. What do you guys think about CB Proud as sort of like the theme around which that we would organize a public relations campaign? Yes? No? Well, anyway, we'll submit we'll talk about it more over time, but that's kind of where we're going with that.
You know we can't commit to anything up here.
Well, you could nod, smile. All right, I would be remiss if I didn't mention HGTV, and I want to first of all say that I was not wearing my foundation hat when I was helping to organize HGTV. I don't want the foundation board members to think I was going off in a direction that they hadn't approved. This was that effort to help coordinate the HGTV activity was Eric Nelson wearing Eric Nelson hat. But honestly, it really was, I sort of started it and kind of pushed it forward, but it was really Christy and Joni and Robert Townsend who really made it completely work. And so I just want to express appreciation for them, and also for the stars up here on the... And as Susan said, regardless of what happened, it was such a great feel-good moment to be working together to pull something like that off. So that was a good thing. So I have some really good news for you. In my efforts to write the annual report for the foundation, I was determined this year to try to calculate the number of volunteer hours that the foundation takes advantage of with volunteers. And I think you probably know I'm also on the board of the chamber, so I wanted to do it, and I wanted to duplicate that effort for the chamber. And I'm also now on the Artists Guild, so I wanted to do that. Anyway, the bottom line is I did come up with some numbers that would be really of interest to you guys, I think. So the foundation, I calculated that the foundation had about 6,900 hours of volunteer effort last year, valued at nearly $200,000. There's a calculation that is used to determine the value of each volunteer hour. The chamber had about 28,000 hours of volunteer hours, valued at about $800,000. And we estimated that the total NGO, this doesn't include what Tim was talking about in terms of the volunteers, the rescue squad or anything like that. But in terms of the NGOs that you normally think of, 42,000, let that sink in, 42,000 volunteer hours last year, valued at over $1.1 million. So when we talk about volunteers making this town go round, that's what we're talking about, 42,000 volunteer hours valued at $1.1 million. It's an interesting statistic to keep in your head. Just to mention briefly, talking about Artists Guild stuff, since I'm standing here and you have to listen to me. There is going to be a Potomac River Regional Art Show here in the town center every weekend in June, and thank you to Kathy for helping make that happen. I understand you were working with the Guild members. And Maggie, and thank you Maggie for that too. So that's going to happen every weekend in June. And not completely related to the Guild, but I want to mention that I've been trying to lead a consortium to buy the Beachgate Inn to turn it into artist studios. So there's about 12 of us who have gotten together. Again, I've been sort of spearheading it, but if anybody wants to take it over, I'm happy to turn it over to them, but so far nobody's stepped up. Anyway, and our Steve Kennedy, if he still is interested in coming up, to talk about CB Green Space. He's not on the schedule, but I think he'd like to give you a few brief words about that. Thank you. Oh, any questions for me?
Thank you.
I don't think he has a closet to fit all the hats he's got to wear. I'll tell you quite honestly. And after Mr. Tribbett got up here, I turned around and looked at my wife and said, keep the $35,000. $35,000 for the helicopter trip. All right. CB Green Space. We're in our infancy. I haven't talked to any of you yet, but Mr. I, you're going to get the biggest advocate you've ever had in your recreation and parks, because I see a lot of overlapping of what we're going to be doing in our efforts, working hand in hand with yours. And so you're the first person I want to meet with. Okay? CB Green Spaces, and our mission statement is very simple, is that we're going to be identifying, preserving, and maintaining green space here in our town for the health of our town and our citizens and the environment, and looking at best practices to use our green space. Green spaces can be identified by many things, but we're not talking about just a plot of land or this or that. We're talking about every place here that we can utilize to the best benefit of the town. And that's what we're going to be all about. As today, I'd like to thank Karen Self-Sullivan. She's been helping put together the information to get to Richmond for our 501c3 designation. I met with her last Saturday. We got that together, and hopefully, and we have our first 3 board members, would be George Nelson, Andrea Clement, and myself. One of the things I've done since then, I have met with Ms. Brisket, Karen. We met this past weekend and discussed a lot of issues. And I'm really high on what we can do to help the town and some of the other organizations, including, I want to meet with everybody here and discuss my feelings and what I see coming down the road. I met with Mr. Turner just the other day, and what I would like to do is, we have 3 board members now. We're going to add a couple more, and one of those board members, we hope, will be one of our high school seniors. And this will rotate through every year. We'll identify a performing senior or a junior, and he said maybe we go down a little lower, who can sit on our board and provide an input from a younger look, the way a younger person would look at it. And not only that, it gives the incentive for some of our high school students to get involved and get involved with what's going on here in town. And I think that's so critical, filling these spots up here later on down the road. Give them an idea of how things go, and give them a voice in what's done here in this town. Other than that, we've got a meeting on Friday with our 2 board members. Our mission statement and our board of directors will be named, and I'll have all that for you this coming month, or on your next meeting. Hopefully I'll work with Kathy and get on the agenda and give you reports on a monthly basis of what we're doing.
Okay.
Any questions?
Very good. No.
I look forward to working with each and every one of you, and thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it.
Colonial Beach Recreation Association.
Hello. I am pleased to announce that in 2020, Colonial Beach Outfitters has been creatively outfitting the community through collaborations for the past 5 years now. And Doug and I both are now official residents of Colonial Beach. The Colonial Beach Recreation Association's 2nd annual Crab Pot Drop was an amazing success. Rusty Curley has vowed that he's going to make it even bigger and better next year. We even had a limo show up with a bride and groom. And you can go to Bobby Hooker and Mary Wentz's page and see pictures of them underneath the lighted up all over the water, and it's really cool. As you heard, the past few weeks have been very busy working with Patrick to establish this pilot Parks and Recreation program for the summer. Very excited about that, and I want to publicly thank council and town management for making this endeavor a priority. I mean, I just thank you so much for that. And I also want to say publicly, Patrick Guy is completely committed to this, and we have really enjoyed talking and this whole process of turning this idea and some of these ideas into a reality. Myself right now, along with some other CB outdoor lovers, are taking the an eco-tourism guide course on Tuesday evenings on the computer. And as part of this class, we all have been, we have to create an ecotourism project. So I'm excited to see what's going to be happening this summer outside here in Colonial Beach, and we'll be advertising and talking about some of those classes. Currently, we are working on a plan for a series of Earth Day events in April, and we are excited, one of the initiatives we're excited about, the installation of a beach trash removal system. We've been working with Quinn and gotten permission to work with Rob about where these baskets and things are going to go. So we'll be giving you more information about that. We are in the midst of fundraising for more access panels, and we'll be installing 3 more approved pet waste stations. In March, we will be supporting the Traveling Yogi in a series of yoga class initiatives that are going to be held at the community center. And we're excited to be planning our summer calendar, or developing an online registration process for some of the classes and things that are going to be going on, and vow to continue to be a positive presence in encouraging the enjoyment of all Colonial Beach has to offer.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. Captain. Unfinished business. Do you think this would be a good spot to insert Richard's?
I think it'd be just as good.
Good as any?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Richard, do you wanna discuss the, you're looking at consensus on ordinance number 694?
Sure, Mayor.
You wanna give a brief overview to the rest of the council on how we got to that, what it is, or I can, it doesn't matter.
Yes, ordinance 694 was adopted in fall of 2018 regarding the placement of sidewalks. Ordinance 694 was adopted in fall of 2018 regarding the placement of sidewalks and curb and gutter on all development of lots, and that would be subdivisions and infill development of lots in town. There was a modification to the existing ordinance that essentially provided for a waiver by the Public Works Director in consultation with the Planning Director to waive the sidewalk and curb and gutter requirement if pre-existing infrastructure didn't support that installation. That language is a little confusing, and it has not been implemented as it probably should have, either currently or in the past. We had an application that we reviewed that we found there was adequate right of way, and we needed to, or we requested that the sidewalks be included on that, in front of that property. And this was on First Street. The applicant feels that there really doesn't make sense for him to have to put the sidewalk there because there's no other sidewalk on that block in that area and so forth. So he's requested that he not have to do that. So what okay.
Thank you.
I didn't do anything. So we had agreed that he would put a surety up, small amount for the sidewalks, and it would basically we would reserve that those dollars for the potential installation for the sidewalk pending a review of this ordinance. And I know this was just done a couple of years ago, but I would recommend that you request the Planning Commission to take a new look at this, since we've had it in the works for a couple of years, and just see if it's something we do want to maintain. And then in this particular case, as with any other applications we have in the next couple of months, we would simply ask that the sidewalk dollars be placed in a surety, and we can proceed with things. In this particular case, it allows us to proceed, or allows the developer to proceed with the particular construction of the house and everything else while we do the review, and then a decision can be made in the next couple of months.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions, I'll try to be brief on that, but I would request that we take a look at the ordinance.
So what we're looking at in terms from this council is that we're not voting to change anything. We're voting to send it to the Planning Commission for their advisory. In the meantime, as developers come along, this kind of situation will sit in a bond, or the prepayments will sit in a bond, and then at the conclusion of what is done by the Planning Commission, it will be decided whether or not the money is to be given back, or the town keeps them for the sidewalks to be completed or whatever. Okay. But if you remember, we had the same situation up on Bryant Avenue, where one house was being infilled into a road that was already done, and it's kind of silly to have one 50-foot section sidewalk with no other sidewalks on either end for row houses. But First Street is somewhat different because it's a school. We've had problems with the school. We need, the kids have to have somewhere to walk. We have aerial pictures of the kids going to school in the middle of the street. We do have a crosswalk there now. We did get that, I think, sustained. We also have a measuring device to measure speed limits up there, I think. Is that still up there, that sign?
Yes.
Which it should be a deterrent, although I take my golf cart through there to see how fast it'll go. Kinda cool.
Not the only one.
Yeah. But anyway, so, is there a motion to, move this to the, planning commission to formally review this ordinance?
Well, I mean, I guess we.
Is there discussion to it?
Yeah, I'd just like to go on with discussion and
Okay.
I don't remember, I remember specifically having this discussion in, I believe it was a work session and not a regular meeting, but the question came up as to whether we could have a sidewalk fund. And somebody, either the then town attorney, our current town attorney, or maybe the former planning person said that we could not have that fund, that it was illegal.
Okay.
So my only question is, have we vetted this with our current town attorney?
We did, but this would not be a fund where the dollars would sit in there and be used for sidewalk projects. This would be treated like we treat the driveway land use bond that's put up for the driveway. We'd essentially collect those dollars with that, and then those funds would be released at the conclusion. And we're talking within, I would assume, sometime later this summer.
Any other discussion?
I would encourage that, any contractor go to the planning commission public hearing and make their voice heard. Because nobody goes to that, and then they come up and they have a problem after it's already gone through that process, so.
Good point. You may want to recommend that to the contractor as well. And all the contractors, actually. Yeah. Okay, so there's a motion that the council requests the planning commission to formally review this ordinance and its provisions regarding infrastructure requirements. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Aye.
Mr. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. Schick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, so there you have it. All right, very good. Thank you. Richard, thank you for taking care of that so expeditiously as well. All right, new business. You guys okay? Everybody's great, right? Move on. All right, resolution 03-20 establishes the dates and times for regular town council meetings through January 2021. And this was in tab A. If you need to really look, Frank, who normally catches every little mistake in this, says that we're A-okay on this one. So, has everybody had a chance to look at it or have any questions about it?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Second. Okay. Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. Schick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right, resolution 04-20, establishment of dates and times for town council work sessions through January 21. Same thing, Frank assures me it's all good. Any discussion?
Have we considered I think we should consider the work session for next week. We've had several meetings. In there, is it a need? Is there gonna be enough town appropriations for us to even?
I can cancel a work session at any time, right? So, my preference would be for you to reach out to Jim Cornwell, the lawyer, make sure he doesn't have anything that he needs our time, since we've missed him a couple times. I know he's had some issues with some needed personal time. So I would like to go ahead and keep it on the agenda for now, and I'll talk to you guys, obviously, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve.
Second?
Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Robertson?
Aye.
Ms. Schick?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, resolution 05-20 is the adoption of the 2020 bylaws and rules of procedure. We went through these extensively last year. Same city and council, unless there's any changes, I suggest that we just move forward. We can, as we all know, we can change them at any time if we need to do a vote.
I did include, a new section 6.2 for exit interviews.
Yes.
Which should have been in the 2017 bylaws.
Right, they were approved in 2017, so
Yes, sir.
just the verbiage is actually just being
And
finally put
this
in
is
here.
the exact same verbiage from
Okay.
2017.
Okay, so we don't need to make any changes then, that was already there, it's just in there, so. Okay, with that, let's see. Frank, did you wanna,
After we vote on this, then
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve, 05-20, adoption of the 2020 bylaws and rules of procedure. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. I?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Roberson?
Aye.
Ms. Schick?
Aye.
And Chair votes aye. Mr. Alger, would you please bring your, resolution to the table?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, insert resolution 09-20, which would be the next one on line after the other ones that are already on the agenda.
Okay.
In order to do this, you'd have to open up nominations for vice mayor. Once one or multiple people have been nominated, then we would, take a vote on who we want to elect as vice mayor for 2020.
Okay. So you probably, everybody's probably wondering, we'll do a little discussion on this real quick. This is rules of procedure that is required now. It didn't used to be, but it is. It used to be that we did it only after a general election, and now it has to be done each year for vice mayor. With that, resolution 09-20, which is the election of the vice mayor, is there a motion to approve this resolution?
We have to nominate somebody first.
Okay.
So you have to
Okay.
open up nominations.
Well, okay, approve it for the agenda first.
Oh, no, we already did
Yeah, we already
that.
did
I don't think you have to
Okay.
have a resolution for that.
Good, good. Okay, so is there a nomination? Anybody nominate anybody?
I'll nominate Robin Schick.
Okay. Any other? Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion, nominations be closed.
okay. So there's a motion to close nominations, or a second?
Second.
Okay, good. With that, all in favor, or for Mr. Schick to be the vice mayor in 2020? Mr.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Adams? Mr.
Aye.
Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Roberson? Ms. Schick?
No comment.
Chair votes aye. Okay, the things we have to do. Okay, resolution 06-20 appoints Joe Kelly to the Memorial Advisory Commission. Joe Kelly was sitting here in a 7.5 hour marathon meeting, and we were tired and angry. We looked over and saw him and said, "You're it." So,
That's what you get for coming to the meeting.
yeah, exactly. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any discussion on this at all? Anybody? I don't think so. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, good. Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. I?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Roberson?
Aye.
Sorry, Ms. Schick?
Does this make a full committee now, a full?
It does.
Yes.
Aye.
It does, so
Yeah, and there should be a couple in standby there, 'cause we get
the
a lot of-
nominating committee,
The nominating committee is now done.
yes. So we'll get bylaws and we'll do.
We are rolling in 2020.
All right, very good. Thank you, by the way. Mr. Kelly, okay, resolution 07-20 amends and appropriates fiscal year 2019 and 20's budget for the school fund. Let's see, I'd be remiss if I spoke on this, so you want to speak on it, Mr. Roberson?
Sure. This is, if I can bring council's memory back to where we set up the CIP fund with the design of the fund to where it is housed inside of the town's budget, but it's with any residual monies during a fiscal year that the school didn't spend to be able to foster good and responsible spending, conservative spending, with the understanding that any monies left over could then be put into a CIP fund specifically for the school to be accessed when they have CIP projects greater than $50,000. Mr. Turner's been able to share with town staff as well as the school board that there's a significant need for an HVAC system over the high school gymnasium that I think is decades old and is beyond repair. We estimate that that cost will not really go above and beyond the amount requested. He's actually requesting more than we believe the bids will come in. The bids have not come in yet, but this amount of money would secure the mechanics where he doesn't have to come back to you again if it's not exactly what the bid is, with the understanding that any money that is not used for the HVAC purchase and installment would revert back to the CIP fund.
Okay.
Just natural mechanic is that the town's council is able to vote on the release of said money, and then they can procure as necessary, pending any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you for explaining it. And I would just like to say this is the way it was supposed to work. And if this works well, this is going to be fruitful for everybody and very understandable for everyone. And I do appreciate your patience with this council and this staff. And I think we've made major inroads. Okay. So resolution 07-20 amends and appropriates fiscal year 2019-2020 budget school fund. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to Second.
Just a second. Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. I?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Ferguson?
Aye.
Ms. Schick?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Turner. I'm glad we got this together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Good luck with the getting the systems on as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we have a public hearing. And the public hearing is ordinance number 702, which amends chapter 7, section 07-27 permit fees. Town zoning ordinance article 22-9, the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act, or CBPA, and the town fee schedule, environmental permit fees, in relation to increasing woodlot management permit penalties, which is in tab F of our books. With that, do you have anything you want to say before I open it, so the public has a better idea?
Sure, I just want to say, Mayor, unfortunately, we've had a handful of trees removed without a valid woodlot management permit over the last couple of months. So this has triggered a review of our ordinance and our procedures and our fees, and this is the result of that work. We feel that increasing the fee will provide more of a deterrent for property owners and contractors to remove trees without permits. So the $1,000, that is the max under the zoning ordinance for misdemeanors. So we did not want to exceed that. I do want to point out, in consultation with the town attorney, we're also, this is not part of this ordinance here, but we are looking at a potential increase in the misdemeanor fine amount up to potentially going from 1,000 to 2,500. I'm going to ask the planning commission to look at that.
Okay.
And that of course, this is the fine that we administer from the planning department. The misdemeanor fine would be something obviously that a judge would administer, but we want to increase that for the more egregious cases. And in consultation with the attorney, he suggested we could go with the administrative fee for property owners, and then we could pursue criminal charges for contractors as needed. And again, it's nothing we want to do. It's really intended to be a deterrent from this activity. Some of the work in this ordinance is really kind of cleanup because for whatever reason, a few years ago, the woodlot management permit penalty was placed in the building section of the general code. That should be under the zoning ordinance for the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Overlay District. And that's where all of our tree protection and woodlot management permit language is. So So one action is to simply move it from the building code section to the zoning code. And then while we were in there, I recommend this is cleanup. You'll see that it's really non-related to woodlot management, but it eliminates a reference that building fees will be the same as Westmoreland County. There's really no need for that. And while we advertise a public hearing doing this ordinance amendment, just recommend doing that as cleanup. So there's four actions here that that are included. And the fourth one, I touched on this, but specifically the ordinance amendment adds language specifying the contractors and other individuals associated with an unauthorized tree removal are subject to the penalty. Right now it's vague, and typically we would just find the property owner. This specifies that we'll go after contractors as well.
Okay, thank you. The public hearing is open. Nobody signed up to speak. Anybody have anything they want to say about this? Okay. Public hearing is closed. So you've heard, is there a motion to approve this?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. I?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Rhodes?
Aye.
Ms. Schick?
Aye.
It passes. Okay. Next public hearing is ordinance number 703, which amends chapter 13.1, article 3, section 1-43, application for vendor's permit in relation to increasing the fee amount of vendor permit fees, which is in tab G of our books.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. This is just an increase. I was fortunate enough to be able to sit down with the Vice Mayor, with Council to determine the best way we can move forward. Over the last 12 months in the previous tourist season, we were able to add electricity as well as max out the geographical vendor spaces that we have available. We're at the point now where it makes sense to reevaluate the value of those spaces as well as the added value that we're able to do with giving the vendors electricity. Make no mistake, this was good for our tourists and for our citizens alike. Before the electricity, they were using generators, which would cause noise right next to the beach, would kind of take away from the experience. So this was good all around, but after discussing this topic with the Vice Mayor, and then also just seeing just how quickly and what the supply and demand is, I feel like an annual fee of $750 is feasible for this calendar year. If the Vice Mayor wants to add or subtract anything.
Yeah, I just want to say I've reached out to a couple of vendors, and part of it is about is really the key to it is the fact there is electricity there, and they were paying a flat fee for electricity that was not metered, and it kind of gets in the way with murder, and they knew it. So, and we want to continue to support our vendors on the boardwalk. We want to continue to add services and benefit. And with the new boardwalk improvements that have happened this year, hopefully we'll see even a greater increase in that. The other part of this is that these vendors are our year, full season vendors, and they get to come to all the events on the boardwalk, right, without paying a vendor fee. And so some of our vendors that come in for one weekend pay this for one weekend. So that was another really, they get a lot of benefits really, and it was previously $175, which, yeah. So this is a little bit of bringing us into the 21st century in that world, and we know there's more to improve in the vendor aspect, and there may be edits to this, and we're open to communication.
It's still actually the 19th century,
It's still the 19th century fee-wise, but let's not push it. This is
okay.
I don't want $35,000, medevac fee. So, yeah.
With that, I'll open the public hearing. Public hearing's open. Nobody signed up. Ms. Mack would like to speak.
Yes, thank you. We met with Quinn on this topic. First of all, Thank you very much. We are totally in support of the increase in fees. We think it's really reasonable. We had some conversation about whether the vendors that are on the boardwalk should have to pay for vendor fees for events that occur on the boardwalk, and it was explained that their ability to be present during those events is an incentive for them to participate. So we totally get that, totally in support. The town manager also, we had some concerns because there have been some of the boardwalk vendors who don't show up very often and will come during a big event after everybody's already set up and want every vendor that's in their way to get to their spot to move. And that's a real problem when we're talking about some of these big events that are on the boardwalk. And in enforcing, I see that it says that a vendor that doesn't utilize their space for 3 weekends may be deemed to forfeit their permit. We just hope that will be good communication between those event hosts that have events on the boardwalk and the town, so that we are able to manage that well.
Yeah, and to support what Susan is saying, Ms. Lane is already working with the verbiage for the agreement. So when they sign the agreement, we've embedded that language so they understand that on the dates that we have an event, they need to show up at certain times.
Abide by our,
Yep.
Perfect.
So that's being put in place.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, public hearing's closed. Discussion with that, I'll just say, I see it as the yin and the yang, just like with selling property. If we're gonna give them such a great deal, they need to be on the boardwalk a lot, because that's their whole intent, is to serve our customers and tourists that come to town. They're not doing us any good if they're paying this and then staying home until the big event comes. We want them there on those days when, it's maybe a little cloudy or whatever, and people get used to knowing that they're there and they can go. That's one thing about it, is consistency is everything for what we do out there. Any other discussion from the council? No? Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. I?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Rose?
Aye.
Ms. Schiff? Ms. Chair votes aye. Okay. All right, another public hearing. Resolution 08-20, disposition of approximately 15,428 square feet of town-owned property adjacent to 413 Work Street at Robin Grove Point. It's in tab 8 of our books. I will just say from the outset that this is an ongoing discussion we've had for months, and I'm hoping this is the end of it. So, anyway, I will open public hearing. Yeah, we've discussed this in public several times. Anyway, nobody signed up, so therefore I will close the public hearing, and it is now in front of the council.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? No. Mr. Alger?
Aye.
Mr. I?
Aye.
Mr. Lehman?
Aye.
Ms. Roberson?
Aye.
Ms. Schiff?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay. Mr. Walter Kearns.
Oh, no, it's citizen input.
Citizen input.
Well, I'm prepared to counsel for another history lesson.
Okay.
This started in 1892. The Colonial Beach Fire Department was organized at that time. It was organized with the help of the Fredericksburg Fire Department. At that time, the Public Works Director for 40-some years was the leader of the fire department. I had the very good
distinction of serving the chief of the first elected chief of the fire department, Joe Tate. He served the fire department for 50 years. His motto was, "Be careful what you ask for." And I'm the second oldest life member in that department. And do I exercise my authority in that department? Yes, I do. And I realize the town has got an anniversary coming up of the abandonment of the Colonial Beach as well this coming spring, and I will have more information concerning the fire department this coming spring as well. And we also are we were formed before Stafford and Spotsylvania fire departments as well. We are the oldest fire department in the Northern Neck. So,
for sure.
So that's my history lesson for tonight.
Thank you, Walter. Going once, going twice. The motion.
Mr. Mayor, I just got one quick thing.
Okay.
I want to get out of here as well as everybody else, but I noticed today that the police department posted on their Facebook page that they were having some issues with people soliciting funds through Apple Pay, as well as like gift cards. And it was something to do with Northern Neck Electric Co-op. Is that right, Bruce?
I believe so.
And the reason I bring this up is because hopefully I think they play this on WWER tomorrow, but just wanted to warn, especially some of our seniors that are really getting taken advantage of this. I had a young lady on my team today that actually was called on her Apple cell phone, and it was ghosted through the Apple 800 number, saying that she owed them money, and she went and got $1,500 worth of gift cards and gave it to them. So people do not take payment through Apple Pay for unpaid bills or through Green Dot cards or Target gift cards or whatever. So just spread that word, spread it especially to seniors that you know, because they're often taken advantage of this time of the year, especially with tax returns. A big thing when I was with the PD was I'm the IRS and I'm coming to arrest you. So just spread that word to your friends to not go do that, because they will take you for a lot of money in a little bit of time.
It happened a couple days ago. They sent my personal phone Gmail account to Kathy Flanagan as representing me as the mayor, asking for iPhone cards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
iTunes. Saying that I had authorized for her to buy these iTunes cards. So, just be cautious.
Another thing for Eddie, I want to know the other parts that they do in those scams is they try to connect to your computer as well, and then also connect to your bank account. So if you get phone calls where they tell you to click on this link and then follow them and they'll help you set stuff up, don't click on those links either. Don't let them connect to your computer, because they'll be able to get in there. They'll find your passwords to your online accounts and they'll lock you out, and then you won't be able to actually access your accounts once they've taken all your money from you. And as a note to what Eddie said, he received some calls. I actually received 9 phone calls in the span of 2 hours from one of those scammers. Finally, I just had to keep hitting the, don't answer for it. Right. But they called me 9 times within about 2 hours, so just keep ignoring those phone calls.
Was that last week?
Yeah.
Okay, because I had a bunch of them call and then I blocked the numbers and then they tried another number. They were all coming out of California.
Yeah.
I had three different phone numbers,
Huh.
3 times in 2 hours.
Wow. Well, I didn't answer any of them, so.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.